Hot off the press, look like the Indiana Fever has made a major move to the roster. They have waived Bree Hall for whatever reason whatsoever. But the Indiana Fever front office thought it was their business to part ways with both of these players for whatever reason it may be. She is no longer on this Indiana Fever basketball team.
Did Dawn Staley just take her biggest L of the season? The Indiana Fever just waived Bree Hall. Yeah, the same player Staley called an elite defender during her South Carolina days. This move has ignited a firestorm across WNBA Twitter. What's wild is how quickly the narrative is shifting. We're watching in real time as media figures who used to praise everything Staley touched are now questioning her ability to develop pro-ready talent. Is this fair criticism or an overreaction to one roster cut? Let's break down what's really happening here. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Remember when Dawn Staley was untouchable? The queen of college basketball who could do no wrong? That image is starting to crack right before our eyes, and it's happening fast. Just a few months ago, Staley was standing on the court with confetti falling all around her. Another championship. Her players getting drafted. Everyone talking about how South Carolina was going to take over the WNBA too. The praise was non-stop. But now, the Indiana Fever just made a move that has everyone talking.
Hot off the press, look like the Indiana Fever has made a major move to the roster. They have waived Bree Hall for whatever reason whatsoever. But the Indiana Fever front office thought it was their business to part ways with both of these players.
They cut Bree Hall. Not just any player. The exact same player Staley called an elite defender during her South Carolina days. That's not a small thing. That's a direct challenge to Staley's evaluation. The Fever didn't try to hide this or do it quietly either. They waived Hall publicly after barely giving her any playing time. It's like they're saying, sorry, but this player isn't what you said she was.
And I'm here to tell you, the Fever didn't give a damn. They waived Bree Hall. Bree Hall didn't see a bunch of action in the preseason games, which was probably another reason led me to believe she was on her way out.
That's got a sting for Staley. Have you noticed how the media is changing their tune? These same people who used to praise everything Staley did are now asking tough questions. Is she actually developing players or just recruiting top talent? Those whispers are getting louder every day. The timing is absolutely terrible. Right when Caitlin Clark has everyone watching the WNBA, suddenly Staley's credibility as a talent evaluator is under fire. More eyes means more people seeing this unfold in real time. What's really interesting is, this isn't the first time.
Man, you don't really see South Carolina players getting waived from WNBA rosters, so they is definitely cleaning house, man. This thing is, it's definitely going down, man.
Look at the pattern here. Multiple South Carolina players have struggled when they get to the pros. They dominate in college, then hit a wall in the WNBA. That wasn't happening before, but now it seems like a trend. Is this just one roster move, or are we watching the beginning of something bigger? Could this be the start of a complete reassessment of Staley's coaching legacy? People are asking these questions now. The bottom line is, Dawn Staley is facing some harsh criticism from WNBA insiders. There's a growing gap between how she evaluates her players and how they actually perform at the professional level. That's not something anyone can ignore anymore.
For whatever reason it may be, she is no longer on this Indiana Fever basketball team. To this news, a lot of people have been kind of outspoken about it. Now, Bree is somebody I thought that might make the roster.
The question now becomes, is Bree Hall's release just the first domino to fall, or will Staley find a way to prove everyone wrong? The pressure is on, and for the first time in a long time, it feels like Staley might not have all the answers. So let's talk about what actually happened with Bree Hall. This wasn't just any random roster cut. The Indiana Fever cut, a player Dawn Staley personally hyped up. That's a big deal. Hall came into the WNBA as a second-round draft pick. Everyone knew her as a defensive specialist. Staley gave her this huge endorsement, calling her an elite defender who was ready for the pros. That's not small praise. That's Staley putting her reputation on the line for this player.
Somebody said it's sad that she didn't get a real chance. Yes, she did. She got a chance. Let it be known we have Wade, guard Bree Hall. Thank you, Bree. And fans has definitely been reacting. She didn't have any baggage that I might have thought that might have been a concern for the Indiana Fever.
But something weird happened when Hall actually stepped on the court. The skills that made her stand out at South Carolina just weren't working in the WNBA. The speed was different. The physicality was different. Everything that worked in college suddenly didn't translate. You know how bad it got? One WNBA insider was caught on audio straight up saying, "She's not a good player." Imagine hearing that about someone who just won a national championship a few months ago. That's brutal. The Fever had their reasons. They needed roster spots for players like Michaela Tempson and Lexi Hall. When they looked at who to cut, Bree's performance made the decision pretty easy for them. She wasn't contributing what they needed. Of course, some fans tried to make this about other things. Some said it was about race. Others claimed there's some bias against South Carolina players. But the truth? This was all about performance. She wasn't playing at the level they needed. The crazy thing is how this shows the huge gap between college and pro basketball. Being great in the NCAA doesn't mean you'll automatically be great in the WNBA. The game is different. The players are stronger. The schemes are more complex. Did Staley's high praise actually hurt Hall? Think about it. When your college coach calls you an elite defender, and then you get to the pros and struggle, those expectations become impossible to meet. That's why this release is such a big deal. It reveals this credibility gap between how Staley evaluates players and what WNBA teams are actually looking for. The elite defender label created expectations Hall couldn't possibly live up to. Now everyone's watching to see what happens next. Will another team pick her up? Is this the end of her WNBA journey before it really started, or will she bounce back and prove the Fever wrong? Either way, this situation has put a spotlight on the gap between college hype and pro reality. This isn't just about Bree Hall getting cut. This is a turning point in how we see Dawn Staley's program. The gap between college success and pro performance is getting harder to ignore. The truth is, some people are saying, Dawn Staley really ain't developing players. She's just landing the best players in the country and just sending them on their way. That's a serious accusation. Will Staley change how she coaches to prepare players better for the WNBA? Or will this gap get bigger? One thing's for sure, nobody's automatically assuming South Carolina players are WNBA ready anymore. Championships are amazing, but pro basketball is a whole different game.